as promised, Richard St. John, the author of 8 to Be Great. He delivered one of the, shall we say, signature TED Talks of all time, way back in 2006 when TED Talks were first being introduced to YouTube, and it was success principles gathered from, what, over 1,000 different successful people. You boiled it down, Richard, into 8 principles, and you had 3 minutes to deliver, and I just have to get you to share the story behind the whole idea of condensing a 2-hour talk into 3 minutes.
Well, the great thing about giving a deadline is you have to work to the deadline. And as you know, you've only got 3 minutes. You just keep whittling it down, right? I started off with 10 years of research, and when I was only given 3 minutes, I had to just cut to the most important stuff. So basically it was, you know, I had basically the structure, but I didn't have much time to whittle it down. So a little bit each day, you know, you start out and it's a 30-minute talk, and you whittle it down to 20, then you whittle it down to 15, then you whittle it down to 10. You keep cutting, making sentences shorter, you keep making the words shorter, and, you know, it's just it's a process.
Now, did it surprise you at all, lo and behold, that this talk of yours became such an internet sensation? I think the views are, what, north of 5 million or something like that, and it's brought you all kinds of international notoriety.
North of 9 million now.
Okay.
Almost 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
But was that a surprise or shock to you?
Oh, a surprise. When I gave the TED Talk, it was, they didn't broadcast the talks back then. And I thought the people and it was a small, relatively early days of TED. Not that early, but not the big one.
Right.
So I think the audience was only 800 people. And I thought the only people in the world who would ever hear this was that audience. And it was the successful people I'd been interviewing for over a decade. I just wanted to feed back to them what I'd heard. And that there are patterns that successful people have. And most of the people in that auditorium, I felt quite close to them. I felt I knew them as much as they knew themselves, because I've been talking to them for 10 years and analyzing all this stuff.
And just by way of background, I mean, you were an industrial design professional, heavily into graphics and things, and then for some reason you got onto this notion of, hey, I want to research success, and you talk to people like Bill Gates and Sir Richard Branson and Martha Stewart, the guy who created The Simpsons. Like, what was the trigger that made you so hungry to research success firsthand?
Well, it sort of happened by accident. I've been going to the TED conference for years, but I would never talk to a Bill Gates, or, you know, I would talk to other marketing guys like myself, or I'd talk to, you know, the guys that were sitting there, right?
Right.
I would never go up to a Richard Branson or a Bill Gates. Why would they want to talk to me, right? I'm a nobody. But then I was on a plane on my way to TED, and there was a girl sitting in the seat next to me, and she came from a poor family, and she wanted to get somewhere in life. So she kept asking me questions, and I just wanted to get my work done, so I wasn't paying too much attention. And then she asked me, you know, what really leads to success? And even though I'd been fairly successful and knew a lot of successful people, I couldn't tell her. You know, I had no answer. And I thought, then I got off the plane, and I'm standing in a room full of many of the world's most successful people in many different careers: business, science, arts, technology, the environment. I thought, oh, why don't I interview them and ask them what helped them succeed and find out what leads to success in any career. So that's what started it all. And I was I was not an interviewer by trade, and I'm a shy guy. So it actually took quite a lot for me to actually finish it. And, you know, it was, okay, I'm going to interview some of these people. And then basically I was so scared I couldn't even start. And then finally Ben Cohen, founder of Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream, sort of came walking towards me. I figured it was now or never. I jumped out in front of him and said, Ben, I'm doing this research. I don't even know what to ask you, but can you tell me what helps you succeed? And he said, sure, come on, let's go for a coffee. And over coffee and ice cream, he told me a story.
The founder of Ben and Jerry's.
Yeah. So basically, and you'd think that would have made me feel more secure about asking people.
Right.
It didn't. For the next 300 interviews, I had butterflies in my stomach every time I'd go up to a Bill Gates or a Richard Branson. because you're always expect to be rejected. And you think it would be logical. Wait a minute, I haven't been rejected yet. Why would I be rejected?
Right.
And they're usually, everybody was happy to help. And if they couldn't talk to me, they'd give me their business card and say, call me. And then I call them and the billionaire answers the phone. It's really baby steps. And I had no plan. I had a job, I had a marketing company. I was doing work for Nortel and BlackBerry and, doing stuff around the world. And so this was on the side. All the interviews and research and everything was just an interest. I was interested in finding out what led to success. And since I was also working with, successful people, I'm not just talking big names, I'm just talking, you always know somebody, you go, boy, that guy's really good. How did he get that way?
Right.
So you chat with him over lunch and you get some ideas.
That being said, because I love to explore the subject of reinvention and how people can really recreate what they want to be and what they're destined to be, I was so grateful for the opportunity to sit and chat with you today, because I think if anyone who has studied success as much as you have, you would have some insights as to, so what are the three things, let's say, that are key in your estimation from what you've observed, three key things for anyone watching who is serious about wanting to reinvent themselves either personally or professionally?
You probably know more about reinvention than I do. So
well, yeah, but I'm just saying the guy. I'm just thinking the guy who studied success and interviewed everyone from, like I say, Bill Gates to the creator of The Simpsons would know a few things about this subject.
Well, I talk about the 8 traits. Love
Right.
what you do, work really hard, focus on one thing, not everything. Keep pushing yourself.
Yeah.
Come up with good ideas, keep improving what you do, and serve others something of value as basic things. Now, reinvention encompasses those, but there's a lot of there's other factors
Right.
in terms of how you get to it. So, it's, to me, a lot of those things come into it, but in different ways. If I think about what I did and, what some other people have done, one thing is reinvention doesn't happen really fast.
Okay.
It's sort of over time. Do you know what I mean? You get a little bit here, you get, okay, what am I going to do? And then one thing is you have to try stuff. An important thing is actually doing it, not just talking about it, but doing it, whatever it is. Because I have my great niece thought she'd like to work she works as a nurse, and she thought she'd like to work in an operating room. And so then one day she actually tried it, and she discovered she didn't like blood. So until she tried it,
Right.
you just never know. So, and you watch TV and you think, oh, it'd be great to be a deep sea diver or do this or do that. Well, go out and try it, because you can try it once and fall in love with it, or you can try it once and go, this isn't for me.
So if I understand you, if we were to say one thing for sure is you got to experiment. You got
gotta
to find some
experiment
labs
and actually try
experiment.
it. Yeah,
and try it.
it's hands-on. It's do it, not
Right.
just talk about it. It's
Okay.
easy to talk about it.
Right.
Easy to think it's going to be easy in the operating room. What's the problem? Until you see the blood and you start to throw up.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's especially now where things sometimes it seems so easy, the way people got to where they are. Seldom is. It's usually a very zigzag line of like it, don't like it, try this, try that, and whatever works. So yeah, be willing to experiment and be willing to listen. Like a lot of great ideas and reinventing yourself is listening to what other people say. And you know what? And doing what you're doing. Ask them how did they get where they are? What did they do?
Sure.
Because when you're a kid learning how to walk, you copy other people. So the first trick is don't be afraid to copy other people.
And learn from others.
And learn from them, and then you morph into yourself. But the easiest thing is to start by copying others. It is.
Makes sense.
And when I was young and naive, I thought, oh, copying's bad. You shouldn't copy people. But the truth is, once I worked in advertising and design, I realized it's only amateurs that are shy about copying. Professionals do it all the time.
Right.
Picasso once said, when there's anything to steal, I steal. But he didn't just steal. He morphed it into his own thing. Right. And that's the trick. Take what something else, do what something else,
right.
what somebody else has done, and make it your own.
So we got experimentation, we got model others, and you were saying earlier before on camera, play to your strengths. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, a lot of, there used to be the theory, work on your, and there still is.
Yeah.
Teacher in school, they teach you to improve your weaknesses. But when I taught to successful people, they always said, nah, forget about your weaknesses. Just go with your strengths. Why would you waste time on something when you're really weak? Unless it's going to hold you back in your particular career. Mm-hmm. I say forget about your weaknesses. Just go whatever you're good at, focus on that, make it even better. And, usually when you're trying to succeed at something, people just, or, with anybody, people say, well, how good are they? Mm-hmm. Right?
Absolutely.
And the better you get at something, the chances are they'll have an answer. Oh, they're good at this, or they're good at that. And you don't get there quickly, though. You do it. That's the whole persistence thing. You have to hang in there, and reinventing yourself takes time. Of course it does, because if you're reinventing, you're not quite sure yet.
Exactly.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with being unsure. That's the other thing, is don't worry about being unsure, because most of the successful people I talk to have quite a lot of self-doubt. They may be the most famous people in the world, they're full of self-doubt, maybe more than anybody else, because when you're that famous, you think you always have to be good, you always have to perform. Mm-hmm. So there's always the self-doubt that pushes them to keep trying harder.
So, Richard, like I say, wrote the book on success in terms of the 8 to be great. You've got about, 80 marathons under your belt. What's ahead for you?
Well, I'm currently writing another book, mm-hmm. which is, so in a way I sort of have to reinvent myself for this subject. And my problem is I got too much research. Okay. It's honing it down and focusing and getting it down to what you're trying to do. Give the quick points
right.
to how to reinvent yourself. And why do we do this? Because it saves other people time. If we can get it down to something that's simple for people to know, they don't have to spend 5 hours reading a book about it, right? That's the point, is you want to make it simple for people. We're short of time. I don't want to waste people's time. So I don't want a long, complicated thing. So you and I both work very hard to make it shorter, easier to understand, and quicker.
And let's face it, it was Da Vinci who said simplicity is the ultimate in terms of sophistication, and no one simplified success more than Richard St. John, the author of 8 to be Great. And thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you, Gair.
And Richard and I...
this is the man. Gair's the man.
Well, thanks again. He's a wonderful host and a better guy. And again, hopefully some of these ideas will help inspire you to recreate and reimagine the business, the life, the career that you deserve.